Okay, here we go. Part 4, I'm going to back it up to get everybody caught up in case you switch from the other one.
Too. So if I tell them I step off, and they know that.
Okay.
Because ultimately, you can't hold it sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
So the fact that she's justifying she had to go and she had to hold it, I would ask, don't they have normal breaks? What normally happens when somebody has to go to the bathroom? Is there a normal procedure, or do you just normally, when you have to go, you say stop? We don't know any of those answers.
And it really sucked that day, too, because the bathrooms were, far as shit.
To your knowledge, do you know of any...
Every time she says fuck, this guy's like, shit, I wish she'd stop using that word that doesn't sound professional. It makes her look like a freaking idiot. Well, she kind of is. Sorry, Mr. Attorney.
employees doing drugs or drinking on or offset?
On or offset? That's pretty broad. Man, you just want this girl to rat out everybody that's doing drugs or drinking. Are you kidding me? Of course they're drinking. They go after off night at the bar. I mean, offset. I don't know what people... You're asking me, if I was this girl, I'd be like, you're asking me what they do offset? I don't know what they do. I've never seen anybody use drugs or drink on the set. Or, yes, it's common at the end of the day when we shut down, everybody has a drink. It's common that everybody smokes a little weed. She's not going to implicate any criminal offense, but...
Offset, I know, yeah, people probably participated, and we all went to the bar, Drinking.
See, she gave her a complex question with two things, and she picked the easy one. Now, will she follow up and say, how about on set? Is there ever alcohol on the set? Is anybody ever drinking? And then we would go down to that day. Was anybody drinking? Do you smell alcohol? What is the procedure if you smell alcohol on somebody on the set before you give them a gun? Will you still give them a gun? Do they drink fake alcohol? Sometimes they put real alcohol in fake. I mean, where are the questions?
Drinking or drugs?
Yeah.
Yeah, for which one? Both?
Yeah, drinking and some drugs, people.
Well, whatever. I mean, look, nobody gives a shit. I don't care what people do off duty. If you're around freaking guns and working, you shouldn't be doing it. If you come into work and you smell like alcohol or your pupils are dilated because you just did a line of coke, well, then I might have issues. But these questions are so broad. This girl's like, what are you talking about?
People smoked weed for sure.
Okay. Did you ever smoke?
Yeah, I smoked weed on the weekends.
On the weekends?
Yeah.
Okay.
If she smoked it on a weekend, she smoked it during a week. Anybody believe that? She's like Clinton. I smoked weed, but I didn't inhale. Really? You're the president of the United States, you smoke weed and you didn't inhale? How the hell do you smoke weed and not inhale? How do you smoke weed only on a weekend and not during a week? I know a lot of people that smoke weed. I don't know anybody that only smokes on a weekend. Well, now I do. I got this woman here. She only smokes on a weekend. She's the first person I ever know.
Did you see anybody else?
Yeah, I saw, the head of my department. They had some weed tea.
Weed tea? Please tell me she's going to go into what the hell is weed tea, and is that served on the set, and is that normal? Is that a name that you made up, or is that a name universal in Hollywood that we talk about on the set with some weed tea? Please tell me she's going to ask something about weed tea.
Yeah.
Who's the head?
Daniel Ortiz, I think.
Damn, Daniel, you just got thrown under the bus. How's that bus feel? Hang on. Back up to the wall and see if I can get that knife out your back.
I know I smoked some weed with the crafty girl on the weekend one time.
Crafty girl. Crafty like in she's a criminal or she does craft work? What are we talking about?
Okay. Any smoking or drinking going on after?
She never went into weed tea. Are you kidding me? I guarantee you they have weed tea on the set.
Working days?
After working days? I mean, I'm sure of it. And I definitely smoked a little bit before bed.
Wait a minute. You just said you only smoke weed on the weekends. Now you smoke before you go to bed. Which one is it? These are where you get people who aren't taking an interview seriously. You get them to say, hey, I'm listening to what you're saying and you're inconsistent. quit lying or make sure you're telling me the truth. Who thinks she's going to do this? Raise your hand, all the women out there. She's really good, Rick. She's gonna catch that and watch her. She'll call her out on it. Okay, let's see. Remember, I haven't watched this. I don't know what's going to happen.
Okay.
And I would drink a little before bed.
To going to work?
Never.
Did you ever see anybody under the influence on set?
No.
Anybody drinking on set?
No.
See, these are check your box that she's just asking the questions, and she's not probing into the question and the answer at all.
Okay.
See, I ask it.
All right.
I'll move
on. We're
on.
Going to go day of the incident, okay?
Okay.
So,
God. Was there ever weed tea? Did anybody have weed tea at lunch? Did people ever go to the bar for lunch and leave and go have a drink? Was beer allowed on a set? I mean, I would even tell her, we found a cooler with beer on a set. How do you think that got there? Rick, you can't lie to her. Like hell I can't lie to her. I'd be telling her I found freaking liquor on the set. How does she think it's got there? And she would probably say, well, sometimes at lunch, some of the crew or some of the security or some of the stuntmen or with Westerns, they'll feed it to the horses. She would answer, even though I never found the beer. That's what's called an interview, an interrogation. I'm seeking information. I mean, you people that don't do this for a living and don't understand how inept this person is and how this is so unjust to the dead woman. Every victim that I work for as if it was me, mine, or somebody I knew or cared about. That's what makes a good detective and a good officer. You need to personalize that. If I was working, if it was me as the victim, would I want me on the case? How many of you idiots want her solving your freaking homicide or kidnap of your kid? How many of you people want this quota hire that shows freaking diversity investigating finding your lost kid or finding your murderer who murdered you or your husband or your child? Raise your hand if you think diversity is our strength when you want this person trying to solve your case when you're a victim. Meanwhile, there is a victim, a child, a husband, and this dead woman that's getting no freaking service. That just pisses me off. That's bullshit.
Box of ammo that you pulled from that day.
Yeah. Box of dummies.
Right.
Box of dummies. You just described this fucking room. That's what you just described. Where are we? That would have been a great question. Where are we at today?
All right. We're going to go day of the incident, okay?
Okay.
So the box of ammo that you pulled from that day.
Yeah. Box of dummies.
Yep. Where are we today? Here's our answer. Box of dummies. Who's all in the room today? Box of dummies.
Right. Where did you pull that box from?
So that box, it was kind of peculiar, actually.
Oh, kind of peculiar. What do you mean by peculiar? What? That's a fucking huge statement. That box was kind of peculiar. What do you mean by peculiar? Rick, she's probably going to explain it. Yeah, but she ain't going to explain it like I want it explained. I guarantee you.
Now that I've thought about it a little more.
Oh, now that I've thought about it. So you didn't think about it before.
Because we had been looking for the 45 long Colt dummies, and we hadn't had a lot of them because, like I said, we used up a lot of mine at the beginning, if not all of them.
When you say used up dummies, dummies don't shoot. They don't get used up. They get loaded and they get unloaded. They get put on a belt or taken out of a belt. What do you mean they got used up? You don't use up a dummy round. It's used over and over again. Oh, I'm sure she'll ask that in a second. I'm sorry. I need to let her conduct this interview. She's doing such a stellar job.
And so we had to order some 4440s, which are kind of a similar size. And then we did get some 45 long Colts a little before that, probably before that weekend. And we put pretty much all of that entire box in Travis Fennell's gun belt.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so this box, I hadn't been aware of any more long Colt boxes and everything. And this box was kind of just sitting right next to my safe on like this kind of extra bag that I bring to carry guns in.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I thought it was kind of weird.
Wait a minute. What? How does a box get there? Who else would have brought it? When it just showed up, did you ask? If there would have been a box of live ammo, would you have just used that? I mean, what do you mean? You found a box that you didn't know was there and it showed up, and we're not going to find out. How did it get there? Did you do an investigation? Did you report that it showed up? Did you do any follow-up to find out who brought that and how it got there? Did you inspect each round when it was there? I mean, what?
Looking back at it now, it was kind of just like sitting on top of my stuff, and considering the prop truck got moved over the weekend, I don't know like how easily that would have stayed up there.
And this box was there in the morning. Can you elaborate on that when you get there? Because I think it's a significant issue.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what
The attorney's doing a cop's job. Can you elaborate? Gee, I haven't heard that once from this idiot. The attorney probably just went, Jesus Christ, man, I got to help her out here because they're not going to get any information.
wasn't one of the original boxes that were provided, though.
No, and it was weird. I think it just said dummies on it. Like,
Okay.
nothing else. I saw just the word dummies.
I wonder if that was the disgruntled crew that left and quit and was pissed off because they had to work. I wonder if maybe they put that box there. Rick, you can't jump to conclusions. That's not fair. They're all good people and they're all trying to do their job and you're just being mean. Shut up, you freaking crybabies.
On it, from what I could remember. Which is not the regular font I'm used to seeing on it either.
And it's
Please tell me she's going to go. What did you do since it was odd? Did you just use it? What the
propped up in your bag.
Yeah.
And
It's propped up in my bag, you know, just like sitting on top of stuff, like not falling over in the bag, you know, because it was on top of something. So, like, it seems weird that it wouldn't have fallen over while moving.
Do you remember which bag it was?
If it was sitting on your bag and the truck was moved, did it have dust on it? Did it look like it was recently put there? Did it look like there was set all night? Did it have dew from the morning? Was it wet? Was it open? Was it closed normally? How was it closed? Was it taped? Was it folded over? Was it flapping in the wind? Are we going to get any of these answers? Hell no!
It was like, it was either above a Smith & Wesson bag. I don't know if you guys saw that. It's like it says Smith & Wesson, and I marked it out with Sharpie so that way people wouldn't rob my car. And then there's another black bag that I had too. They were both like there were two black bags kind of usually stacked on top of each other.
Okay, so the box that you pulled out of that day, though, was on that bag.
Yeah.
Okay, and
It was just kind of sitting up there, and I remember I was like looking for, you know, blanks to pull, dummies to pull, and I saw that box, and I was like exclaimed.
Is that normal that boxes just show up? Has a box ever showed up on a scene and you not know where it came from? Is this a normal thing that happens, or is this really odd? Oh no, it's never happened before. If it's never happened before, did you think about asking somebody? Did you go ask somebody? Did you report it to somebody? What did you do when you found this random box?
And I was like, where the fuck did this like box of dummies come from? I was like, have we had this the entire time? I was like, we've been needing.
Who is she talking to when she's asking these questions? Are you talking to yourself or are you talking to someone else? Did you actually ask somebody these questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. She'll probably get to that.
These. Yeah, Nicole just laughed, and I don't really remember if Sarah was there or not. But I said, like, oh, well, whatever. At least we have them now.
Okay, it sounds like she was talking to Nicole. Who's Nicole? Is Nicole her assistant? Is this investigator going to ask who Nicole is there? What did you and Nicole do? Did y'all report it? Did y'all tell anyone else? It's funny after someone dies, now we remember that there was a strange box there. But before, in the first interview, there was no mention of a strange box of ammo there. Rick, it's because she didn't ask. It's not her fault. Oh, okay, it's not either the woman's fault. I'm sure. Okay, I got it.
Put them on the car, and they went out with us.
okay.
And as I picked them up, they were jingling. So that indicates that they were dumb.
See, as she picked them up, they were jiggling. Well, did the whole box jiggle? Or did you pull out each round? Were these rounds kept to where they were all in a straight line and some sort of carrier? Or were they loose in the box? And if you didn't check every round, how do you know they all jiggled? And if they all were flopping around, how did you know how many and if there weren't live ones in there? And doesn't it make sense that if some were blank, they would jingle? And if you didn't check every round, there could have been a live round? Wow, that might be a good fucking question.
Okay. Had you seen the box prior to that point?
I hadn't really noticed that box prior to that point, but I think I had noticed a box that looked similar to it that we had gotten those newer ones from. And I think I remembered like a box similar to that, and it might have been the same box even.
Okay.
This was maybe because we didn't put
This freaking idiot interviewer. Okay, let me go to my next question. What the? Not one freaking iota of freaking shit that's relevant to this investigation was asked or drawn out of this woman. And I don't think she's trying to hide it. I think she's just stupid. She doesn't know what's relevant to the investigation. She doesn't know what things to give. It's her job to ask. Dude, I'm telling you, man, this woman needs to be demoted to freaking parking meter lady again and go through the freaking ranks. What a worthless investigator.
put those dummies back in there though, but that's the only other box that looked like that box. Was one of those newer boxes that we got. And I think it just said, like, just dummies on it.
No lettering, anything of the sort?
Now, I don't know who this guy is because somebody's going to bring up, Rick, there's a guy in the room and he's not saying anything. You're right, he isn't saying anything. Maybe he was put in there to make her feel better. Maybe she wanted him in there, but he's not supposed to ask questions. Maybe before they went in there, they said, hey, she's the lead investigator. Don't interrupt her and let her conduct the interview. You are just in there to observe. Okay, maybe that's why they put him in there. I don't know. I guarantee you, if I was in there, all this shit wouldn't be flying. I wouldn't be sitting there like a lump on a log, but I don't know what his directions were.
No lettering or anything like that. I think I just saw the word dummies.
Okay. It doesn't say caliber on it?
I don't believe it did. It might have said long quote on the other side. I don't really remember.
Okay.
Else.
You don't remember? Do you remember checking? Do you remember reporting it? Do you remember saying this is odd to anybody other than Nicole? Did y'all ask anyone else? Did y'all ask who moved the truck? Why was the truck moved? Is that normal for the truck to be moved? Who has the keys to the truck? Let's find out who moved it. Let's find out maybe who the last person was to drive the truck where the mystery box of ammo showed up, and we can interview him. But Rick, that'll make him do more work, and she's got to get her nails done, and she's got a new tattoo appointment, and you just want her to work hard, and she's overworked, and she's a hero, and Jesus Christ, what a shit investigation.
See, maybe.
All right.
I don't know.
So, at the beginning of the day, before lunch, how many guns were pulled out?
Okay. Can I have, like, a piece of paper or something? Just because, like, there's a lot of people in this, you know.
Yeah, I have probably a few.
There we go.
I'm like, I feel like you're running out of paper.
All right, so, you know, there's Alec Baldwin's character. This is Russ. Jensen's character, Wood. Drunk.
Please tell me she's going to take this notepad and make this part of the investigation after this person writes all this down. Please tell me she's going to do that. You know, if this interview and me cracking her, I mean, some people will see this as I'm just being an asshole and I just want to be a jerk. This is so unfair to taxpayers that pay money for a police department to do investigations of the most serious crime ever, a homicide, and to get the victim justice. And this is what we give for freaking all the money we spend to do This is the best you got? Man, this agency should be shamed, I mean, it is just ridiculous that they have not assigned a real investigator to investigate this crime. Out freaking outrageous. I hope when the family sues, they take a clip of this from a 30-year seasoned investigator and say, you know what, this guy even said they didn't take this investigation seriously. They didn't ask what they should have asked. They totally whitewashed this investigation, so it didn't matter. They weren't interested in holding anybody accountable, and my wife's dead. I hope they trash this department publicly.
And we have a Miller over here. And so these are the ones that were being used today. And also, I think Boone was coming in later that day, but I don't think we pulled his gun. So check this out. Miller has...
I think he was coming, but I don't think we pulled the gun. I asked you how many guns were on the set. Let's try to stay on that. Go ahead and do your drawing, write it out, and then we'll count them.
Has 2 pistols and a long rifle. There we go. Russ has a pistol, a long barrel one, different than everyone else's really. Long barrel. And he also has a Henry rifle. So at this point, that's like 3 guns, 4, 5. And then Wood has a gun, and he also has a long gun. So that's another pistol and another rifle. Oh wait, he has a shotgun, my bad. And the drum also has a shotgun and a pistol.
Okay. And those were all prior to lunch?
These are all prior to lunch, yes. So I think that's a total of 1, 2, 3, 5 pistols and 4 long guns, 2 shotguns.
Okay.
And if you would like, that's yours.
She didn't take her notepad. See, I would have took her notepad and asked questions and wrote on the same sheet with a line saying, clearing up my questions. Or take the notepad, initial and date it, stick it in my file, and then use my paper to write the follow-up questions. She didn't even look at it. I'm still not really clear, and I don't think this girl's clear. I bet you if she pins her down, so you're telling me there was only 9 guns out there, 7, I don't remember. We don't even have a total. She didn't have total up. I think 2 shotguns, 2 rifles, maybe 4 or 5 pistols. I'm not sure. How many guns were available? If you had that many out there, how many were still on the cart or other places? If every gun on the set was out, how many guns would there be? Do we know that? Of course not. We'll never know it.
You might need that.
Okay.
Well, we can illustrate a little more, so keep it.
Cool.
Were they loaded
Prior to lunch?
Yeah.
So what you have to understand about before lunch is that
That's not an answer. Were they loaded or not? Now she's going to give her statement on where we understand, which is okay. You can give me that, but I have to stay focused on the original question and get the answer.
we were at another location for half of the day before lunch, and then we had gotten done with that location and we moved up to the church.
Okay.
Right? So during the day, at the beginning of the day, none of those were dummied up at all because the shot was so wide.
Is dummied up the same as loaded? Or are they dummied up with dummy rounds? What if they're loaded with blanks? Is it different than dummied up?
You just wouldn't see it.
So there was nothing in these?
There was nothing in these until we got to the church.
How do you know there's nothing in them? Did you physically check every gun to ensure that none of these guns were loaded when you gave them to the actor? Is that standard procedure? Did you check them before lunch and after lunch to see if it changed? I wonder if we'll get to that.
Okay. But still prior to breaking for lunch?
Yes, still prior to breaking to lunch. So if you had to break up the day like that, you could split before lunch into two things. One where we were somewhere else entirely and nothing was dummied up, and after that we were in the church and things started to get dummied up, but weren't dummied up right away.
Okay. So then which ones of these were loaded prior to lunch? Yes.
Okay. Wood dummies prior to lunch, wood and drums pistols were dummied up. Sarah helped me dummy those up.
Okay.
And a little later on, the camera started getting in on Russ. And so Russ got his dummied up maybe an hour and a half before lunch.
When you say dummied up, who dummied them up? Who loaded them? You? Sarah? How do you know they were loaded? Where did the rounds come from? Did they come out of the mysterious box or out of a box that you knew, out of your bag, or out of one of your pockets? Where did the rounds with those guns get dummied? See, you want to set up some sort of, if you can't get them to tell you what the procedure is, you ask enough questions on the things that they seem sure about, and you get them to establish a pattern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything with Miller?
Miller was not in there.
Okay.
Yeah, so Miller's character was coming later in the day. Yeah, so he wasn't in the church at all. So honestly, I'm pretty sure that we put away his two pistols and his long rifle for a good proportion before lunch, because we always try to put them away as we're not using them and lock them up.
Okay. So the only ones dummied up though are the pistols?
Yeah, 3 pistols. And They should have both been used at the time of the incident. Like they were both, all three of those were out there.
Okay, so who loaded what gun?
Sarah and I
Hey, she
loaded
asked.
woods and
I'm surprised.
drums. I don't really remember who they are identical guns, so you wouldn't really know.
Okay.
And then Rust,
So why did Sarah load and you didn't? How is that decided? Did she load in front of you, or was she somewhere else? Did y'all load on the same table together and watch each other load? Did you check what she was loaded, and did she check what you were loading, or you just checked your own? Those would be nice answers. What do you think? Rick, you're just being picky.
I dummied that one up.
Okay,
Yeah.
and all with dummy rounds.
All the dummy rounds, yeah. And we were shaking them and checking them as we did it, yeah.
Okay.
And then some of them didn't have to be shaked, but yeah.
And why didn't they have to be?
They didn't have primer caps on them. And sometimes I accidentally still like shake the ones with holes in them, just thinking that they're gonna shake, and then I like realize. Yeah, that's the only time where I've ever like thought there was a bad one, is like when I shake it and I don't hear anything, and then I realize I'm like, oh, it's the ones that don't shake.
Can you recall when you loaded, whichever ones you loaded, what specific rounds you put in this?
Yes. Okay. So for the Rust pistol, the wooden drum, I don't exactly remember those, you know.
So she said yes, she remembers, and the first thing she goes to is I don't remember. Inconsistent.
I think most of those, not exactly sure
I think, not exactly sure. But her first answer was, yeah, I remember.
what was up with those.
And the investigator let her get away with it. Didn't clear it up. Did not clear up a damn thing.
But for the Rust one,
I'm going to stop calling her investigator. I'm just going to say the idiot. Everybody knows this is the armor, and this is the idiot, and this is the bald guy, and this is the observer. We'll use those names.
remember I had 4 of them without primer caps,
Okay.
because I always try to use those ones ultimately. I have 4 of them without primer caps, and then I grabbed some dummies from that box, and I like brought them in there, and I was walking in with his belt right here, and I'm walking in holding the 4 no primer cap ones and some extra ones too. And there were 2 that like.
This is so freaking. This is why you don't let people go into a dissertation on answers, because they just talk about shit that doesn't freaking matter and it doesn't make it clear. If you're going to let them do that, you have to go back and break it down.
It could have been shaken, so I'm shaking them both as I walk in. And I walk in and I put.
You just showed that you were shaking one in each hand. Is that normal? Do sometimes you check 2 rounds at a time, one in one hand and one in the other, and you shake it? I mean, that's a reasonable question. Is that the way you check it? I don't think that's a good procedure. What if one shakes and the other one doesn't? You hear a shake. Why are you shaking one in each ear at the same time? She just demonstrated that she did that by shaking
Could have
both
been
in each
shaken,
ear.
so I'm shaking them both as I walk in.
See? So, how do you know that one, are you feeling the shake, which I think you could feel the BB in your hand, or are you hearing it? And what happens if it's loud, or it's noise, or somebody's talking to you in the ear? How do you know when you're shaking 1 round in each hand and 1 in each ear to hear a shake?
And I walk in and I put the 4 no primers in there. And then I like look at my hand and I notice there's one with a hole in the side. So I use that one next. And then I try to put one of the ones that shook in there, but it won't go in. And so at that point, I showed Dave.
Maybe we could stop and find out why that round wouldn't go in. Was it sticking at the case, the bullet? Did it look deformed? Did it look bent? Did you compare it to another round and see why it wouldn't go in? After it wouldn't go in, did you mark it? Did you take it out? Did you put it in your back pocket so it wouldn't be used again, so you could figure out what happened with the round that wouldn't go in? I just threw it in a box, and then I'll figure it out when I pull it out next time and it doesn't go in. Perfect. Anybody think the dummy going to ask any of that?
I leave that one out because I notice like that needs to be cleaned. So I leave it out. I move the cylinder to a location where you wouldn't notice that one isn't in there. Yeah. So I move it to where you wouldn't be able to see that, and then I go ahead, I show Dave. He watched me do it too that time. This is before lunch. And I walked out after handing it and showing it to Alec, too.
Okay. So before breaking for lunch, there was only 5 rounds in that gun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all that she talked for freaking almost a minute and a half or 2 minutes saying all this shit about loading, and her only follow-up was, so about 5 rounds, yeah? Oh, yeah. Okay, great. That means I can just write a couple of words and I don't have to think or ask a lot of questions and clear things up. What a worthless dummy.
And then I proceeded from that one that wouldn't go in. I just set it on the cart after that.
Okay. The 4 that you got without the...
Nothing about what? Is that normal? When rounds don't go in, you just set it on a cart? There's no way to mark it? Do you throw it away? I mean, what? Maybe you should put those on the belt and they should stay on a belt? What is the procedure when a round doesn't go in? Just throw it on a cart? Is that the procedure?
Primer.
Yeah.
Where were those pulled from?
Those were pulled from my pocket.
From your pocket?
Yeah.
Okay. So the other 2 were pulled from that box?
Yeah.
From the box. Really? From the pocket. Really? Last time I checked, pants have 4 pockets. Some may only have 2. She has a bag with multiple pockets. She may have had a jacket on. Which pocket did the rounds come from? And what else was in the pocket? And how many rounds were in the different pockets? And did you have blanks in some of the pockets? Maybe the dummy could ask those questions, but the dummy can't ask anything because she's in the dummy box.
Do you remember about what time you loaded these guns?
How is that relevant? Unless she follows up, were the guns constantly in your observation or in your control after they were loaded? I mean, what time did she said before lunch. What time? I guess if she did, I mean, this isn't a horrible question. If the dummy's going to ask a question, it should be to elicit something that helps the investigation. And I just don't see how this changes anything. There's 1,000 other questions she could have asked that would have helped. But she asked what time? Probably because somebody wrote it down.
Not exactly. I would maybe guess like 10:30 for Russ, maybe 10. And then for the other 2, they were loaded like maybe 30 minutes before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still fairly early.
Yeah, pretty early in the day. It starts super early.
So she summarizes with another fairly early, which is very undefinitive, to say the least. Fairly early, really? It was done in the morning time. Was it done after 9? Did y'all take a break? How do you know it was done at 10:30? Is that like 2 hours before lunch? Were they loaded? Why did you wait till 10:30? Why weren't they loaded the first thing in the morning? What time did you show up that day to work? I mean, you big dummy.
When you broke for lunch, none of the rounds were taken out of any of these guns.
How about what time did you go to lunch? That might be nice. Then I would know when they broke for lunch and what time they broke for lunch. Instead of when you broke for lunch, that's giving the answer that doesn't really clear up and doesn't give the person to give you the answer.
No, none of those were taken out. We just put them in the socks and we brought them to the truck. And from there, we put them into the safe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the safe loaded with him.
With the dummies, yeah.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah,
dummied
that's
up.
what I mean, but
Yeah. Just so we're clear, yeah, just with the dummies.
Again, you put them in socks. What do socks do? Protects them from being scratched. Are they tied or are they zipped? Where do the socks come from? And when you brought them to the truck and locked them up, who has the key? Was it a combination or a key? Who has access to it? Were they positively in your control when you lock it to where no one else has it? And when you took them out, were they the same way as when you put them in, or did they look like they were moved? Those might be nice questions. Who thinks the dummy will ask it?
And the other 2 guns were full.
Yeah, the other 2 guns still were dummied up.
2 guns were full. She's changing terminology. Were they loaded with dummies? Were the 2 guns loaded with the dummies? Were they fully loaded? Did they have the max amount of rounds they could have? How many rounds did they have? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay. So who
Oh shit, I'm at 34 minutes already. What the hell? I mean, this is just so frustrating. This is like pulling freaking teeth. All right, we're on to part 5.